welcome back to Mark Holwitz the Vlog, everyone. Thanks for joining in on this beautiful, somewhat snowy kind of a morning. Yes, it's very, very frosty out here today, and it's about minus 25 Celsius, so it's very, very chilly. As you can see the breath. Now it is a great day. Why? Because rumor has it, I got the call, finally made arrangements. The Lamborghini is coming back home today. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that ended up costing me. The car was at the dealer in Calgary for quite some time. It needed a bunch of servicing, a clutch, oil service, a couple other parts and pieces, and as well, they took care of a recall. So it was really in need of a bunch of major servicing. Now the car's on its way. We'll talk about the pricing and the cost of that all. But before the driver shows up, we got to get the Jag right there all cleaned up. We got to get the snow blown off of it. I want to clean up the driveway. Because even though it's not a really steep driveway, I know the P0s on the Lamborghini will still probably spin and they won't turn very well on the snowy road here. So let's get started. I'm going to grab the old blower and we're going to get cleaning. But even before we do that, let's reach out to the comment from last week by Kevin Quartermont, who said, "Smart kid, electric cars have no soul." And I can't agree with you more. They're so awesome. They're almost sterile. Like, they're so fast, they're efficient, and they're amazing in a lot of ways. And they're great for commuters. But Kevin, I totally agree. And Marcus, my son, as you noticed in the last video, if you guys watched that he has the same attitude about it. There's no soul. That's why the cars like the Lamborghini, even though they're not necessarily the most reliable cars and they obviously have some associated maintenance-related issues, as well as the F-Type here, they have that vibration, that sound, that sensation that you can't get in an electric car. Sure, they're fast. Yes, that's one of the dimensions. But there's multiple dimensions in owning an exotic car. My first experience in a Lamborghini Gallardo was I went over to my buddy Ed's. He had a car in his shop and it had some kind of running issue, but it did start and it did run fine. He had a Gallardo there and that was my first experience. I jumped in the seat, he fired up the car for me, and I instantly got that electrifying sensation through the back, through the spine right there, because it felt like, whoa, what is that? Like, there's something shaking back there. And my first question was, is that a bad motor mount? Is there something wrong? It sounds like a misfire or something. He said, no, they're all like that. They just have that sort of vibration in the seat that transmits right through the cabin, and you feel it in the seat of the pants. And honestly, it's that sensation, it's the sound, it's the feel, all of that you can't replicate with an electric car. And so yes, Kevin, to your point, absolutely, electric cars have no soul. But if you guys want to drop a line in this comment section, I'll be sure to have a look, and maybe next video it will be featured. Let's get started. Can never quite get enough of the looks of the F-Type, eh? What do you guys think? All right, let's fire this bad boy up. So it sure feels good to get the Lambo back soon. I guess it's on its way. I just thought before the driver gets here, I'd take the Jag out for a quick spin give you guys kind of the rundown what it ended up costing me to get the Lambo fixed. I also got to get some gas. I mean, we're down to about a quarter tank, and when it's cold outside like this, you never, ever want to leave your vehicle low on fuel. Number one, if you ever you're stranded or something and you need to stay warm, it's nice to have a vehicle that's full of fuel. But the other thing too, when you have low fuel level, your fuel can separate. You can have water in your gas, and then you'll have running issues if you have too little of gas. It can just freeze up your fuel lines or other problems. But anyway, we're gonna go get gas first, and then we're gonna go wait for the Lambo driver to show up with the car, and we're gonna have that delivered here shortly. But we did get the invoice in the mail, or got the invoice via email, and we ended up paying for it. And so, as I said last time, we had basically the power steering lines we had to do, so we got that taken care of. I had a key fob, which a second one that I had to get done, so I had that programmed. I think they kind of did that. They ate the cost on that. But and the delivery from Calgary to Edmonton and Edmonton to Calgary, so the two-way delivery, they absorbed the cost because of the job, the magnitude of the work that was getting done. I guess they figured it's easily blended in within the cost of the job, so they didn't charge me anything extra to deliver the vehicle, which was pretty nice because honestly, if you're gonna ship anything on the flatbed of a truck or something, I mean, there's possible issues with that in transportation. It's gonna always cost you a significant amount of money. So anyway, that didn't cost me a thing. So getting to the repairs, so I knew it needed an oil change, and normally if I do it myself, it's gonna cost me about $250. That's just materials for me. We're talking 10 liters of synthetic and the filter and all of that good stuff. It usually costs me a couple $100 to do it myself, but we got that taken care of at the dealer. They blended that into the cost. So again, if you were to just drive your Lamborghini down to the dealer and just have a straight up just for an oil service, I think the Gallardos are in that $600 to $700 range for an oil change, if you're just driving straight in for that. But anyway, I had that done. It seemed like the right time to do it. And when I had the clutch done, there was a couple other parts. There was a relay that apparently was flaking out, and there's an accumulator part of the e-gear system was also identified as a cheap part and cheap insurance. So we changed both those parts. Combined, those two parts were only a few $100s. And then the rest of the clutch job we ended up doing. So what we did was the flywheel. We did a full pressure plate clutch replacement, the sensor. We did the rear main seal. So it's a full clutch job the proper way, the way to do it. You never want to do parts of that and cheap out, because you got to remember, to do a clutch, they got to pull the whole transmission. Pull the whole transmission, you got to pull a bumper and intake system and air boxes and a bunch of stuff. It becomes kind of a real thorn. So you never want to do that job twice. So we just decided to do the seals and the full clutch kit and the release bearing and all of that. Everything that you would get in a clutch kit and then some, we did. So if I can summarize what the final tally was, the cost to fix the Lamborghini this go around was about $11,000 Canadian. And well, on one hand it might seem like a lot, but on the other hand, I know people that have, say, 911s, similar generation of 911s where you do a clutch on that car and you're a $5,000-$6,000 tab to get that job done. And that's on a 911, to be honest, a little easier to get the engine and gearbox separated in a 911 than it is in a Lambo. Even though typically do a clutch in a Porsche, you're taking the engine right out, or partial engine drop. But it's what I found was relatively reasonable. I mean, as you saw in that previous video I did about the Murcielago, to do a full clutch job, the same work that I did on the Gallardo that cost me 11 grand, that same clutch job is going to cost you well over $20,000 on a Murcielago, probably closer to $25,000 by the time it's said and done. So it's two reasons. Number one, the Gallardo, the gearbox is on the back of the engine, so all you have to do is pull bumper and gearbox, and then you've got exposure to the clutch. But the parts are also cheaper on a Gallardo than they are on a Mercy. That's pretty obvious. Versus the V12 cars, they're always more money for those parts. But then also, not only that, on the Murcielago, to do a clutch on that, the gearbox is in front of the engine. So Now you've got to pull engine and gearbox out. So the labor job is massively more expensive on the V12 cars. And that would go for a Countach, a Diablo, a Murcielago. I mean, any of those cars, the older V12 cars, they're always going to cost a lot more money. So that's where the V10 cars are kind of nice in some ways. Their maintenance costs are a little lower. They're also more mainstream because obviously the Gallardos and even I would say the Huracans are very similar to the Audi R8s, and of course that's more mainstream, so there are some sharing of parts there. So if you're one of those supercar buyers that are maybe just a little bit budget minded, because that's kind of an oxymoron, I guess, or something along those lines, ultimately driving a supercar doesn't have any kind of correlation to be budget minded. But if you are concerned about maintenance costs, the V10 cars are the way to go. The V12 cars, certainly the benchmark. But again, if you want your cake and eat it too, you look at the Huracans and the Gallardos. They're the way to go for that. So anyway, let's gas up. Let's gas up here. And we're going to put some fuel in the Jag. Oh, look, they're here now. The guys are already here. I better hurry up and give them a hand unloading the Lamborghini. Let's go and see what it takes. It's been really cold, and I suspect the trailer's really cold too. That was quite an affair. Getting the Lamborghini up this roadway here, of course, was a little bit slippery, so it took a little extra effort, but we got it up there. It's all in, and it's tucked away nice and neat. I had to put the battery tender on it because we actually had to boost it. It sounded like the battery was a little weak, and it's 25 below weather in a trailer didn't help it much. So I got it wrapped up. It's ready to rock and roll for summer. Might have to put a battery in it, but other than that, it's ready to have some fun. Okay, again, everybody, thanks for joining in again today. Please drop a line in the comments section if you think you want to be heard for the next video. I might pick your comment. As well, please don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to see you guys on the next one and hear from each and every one of you guys. Thanks for supporting. Hope to talk to you real soon. See you then. Bye-bye.